Alright, after going from non-extra deck heavy to Exceeds, aka also with Pendulums, we finally go rank my personal favorite Link decks. So it's basically all my opinion on my favorite Link decks. And spoiler alert, most of them are going to be related to the anime because most Link decks that got advertised end up being anime use. And there are still a lot of archetypes from the anime still not been printed. So I was originally going to delay this, but considering that we're probably not going to get the archetypes anytime soon, why not just make the list anyway and put it on the list in a what if scenario if it comes up. But anyway, before we begin, some additional rules is that this is going to be Link heavy focus deck. So meaning no basically Firewall or Cyberse Dragons, because despite being basically a Link summon deck, it still revolves around needing the other summoning methods that is not Pendulum. While decks like Bullets or Rockets with Borals will still count as Link decks because those are extra add-on bonuses and the deck revolves around the Link monsters anyway. But anyway, with all those rulings out of the way, let's begin. And remember, I'm ranking these based on their design and playstyle. So on the bottom of my list, which is number 5, it's Trickstar, basically a band theme angels that pull tricks on your opponent. You basically just constantly do little pushes on your opponent and hurt them little by little until they basically lose. Hence the trick on their name. And also their design is not too bad, but unfortunately it's not really my most favorite deck, but it's still higher than most Link decks out there. Moving on to number 4, we got Marincess. First off, water theme archetype, so I really like the aesthetic and also the theming of the maidens, but another thing I really like about the archetype is 1, the defensive playstyle, especially with the hand traps, and the part where the main Link 3 and Crystal Heart combine as one into the main Link 4. I just think it's overall pretty cool, but still kind of needs a little more support, but still a little cool concept. And now number 3, we got Code Talkers. Now the Code Talkers is a huge reference to the natives, hence each Code Talker uses the specific type of weapon, but I also like the warrior-like design, especially each of them being Link 3 with 2300 attack, especially with the focus on them linking to each other. The more they link to each other, the more effects you gain, and that's something I like. And also the main Code Talker of Decode also gets some cool stuff because it has its own evolve form, and when all the Code Talkers combine, we got the Axis Code Talker, which is a cool Link 4. And also technically you can say Firewall Dragon's the main ace monster, but it's just unfortunate that Firewall Dragon's now more with the Cyberse Dragon archetype, so it doesn't really count here. But I do like that there's synergy with the Cyberse Dragons, especially since each of the Code Talkers is pretty generic. And now number 2, it's Salamon Great. Design wise is really cool, especially on each of the flaming theme animals, and very fitting that their main boss monster is literally a phoenix, fire, but also the idea of reincarnation summon, aka using the same monster as itself as material. And I like that there's cards to support it as well, where you just literally just use just that monster to summon itself. Yes, it also has its own fusion, ritual, and exceed monster, and now synchro, but the deck still focuses around Link monsters, hence why it still counts as a Link deck. And overall it's just really cool because the reincarnated summon basically also changes their flames in a way and also makes them have stronger effects or bonus effects. And now before we go to number 1, honorable mentions. So first off, Ting Dangle. What I like about Ting Dangle is that it's a flip deck, mainly focuses on Hound and Angel, which has a lore on it where it's basically brother and sister, with the combined power with the Cerberus, which is of course the main boss monster. But it's just too bad this didn't really get expanded upon, so it just goes to honorable mentions, but I do like the design. And then we go to Sun Avalon, which is a pretty cool archetype being a Mame tree. It's a very defensive deck with basically only one offensive card, that being Thrasher, but when you play a little offensive, you basically grow more seeds, aka more trees. But other than being a pretty cool archetype, it doesn't really do much but stall. And finally, G-Golems, which is pretty cool in concept where you play with the golem that is basically playing offensive while you protect the Crystal Heart, which is the defensive card, and basically protecting your crush no matter what, which is the Crystal Heart. But once again, there's not really much with the archetype, but I do like that it's a rock and earth based theme. And finally, to number 1 on my list, it's Rockets or Bullets, which is also combined with the Borals. So I really like the playstyle. For 1, it's dragons, since I'm a sucker for dragons, and the idea of the bullets being loaded up on the main boss monsters to basically shoot the turrets. Basically, playstyle wise, the ones with something name and then rocket is basically the bullet, which will activate certain effects depending on which one you target with the Link monster. The ones that are just regular rocket without the extra name on it basically are support, along with the other dark dragons that are basically support without the archetype name. and I really like how you could just recharge your bullets every single turn. As for the boss monsters being the Boros, I like their design, which is pretty cool already, especially since there's 3 variants, one being neutral variant and the other 2 being battle and defensive, while also still having a fusion synchro exceed along with the ritual monster, which are basically additional bonuses to the deck itself, but it's still a Link focused deck as you can tell. And when all 3 of the Boro dragons combine, they become the Boro End Dragon, which combines all their protection into one, and it makes it hard to get rid of, which is something I like. And also played by one of my favorite characters. So overall, favorite archetype of the list. And now before I go, let's talk about those anime still exclusive archetypes. If I were to rank some of them if they were getting printed, we got Hydra Drive, which will probably be above Bullets or Rockets or right below it. Mainly because the playstyle of focusing on different attributes, aka the 4 main attributes of the world, not light and dark. So that is the unfortunate reason. So it might go up to number 2 because of that. But also the Link monsters being pretty cool warrior theme, going to the Link 5 being a Hydra Dragon theme. And that's another thing, the Link monster of being 5. It's just too bad the design is cool, but what they done with it in the anime, it's kinda bad, especially with the dice roll mechanic. And then the other one I would most likely rank on the list is Lightning's deck being Armatos Legio. Probably above Salamangreat or below Salamangreat because I really like the Legionnaire design of Romans, and also the amount of small Legionnaires banding together to go up against one huge enemy. And also I like the main deck monsters where when it's linked into one of your monsters, effect activate. So that's just only what's gonna happen if these were actually printed as actual archetypes, and that's what's gonna happen to the list. But unfortunately, since they're not printed as actual archetype, I cannot exactly just put them as rankings just yet. So that's it for my favorite Link decks. What do you guys think of it? How would you rank them, and what other decks would you put? And if you add in the anime exclusive archetypes, how would you rank them as well? I just gave you my list, so go ahead and tell me yours. But on that, this is not the finale because the finale is going to be the hybrid decks, aka using multiple summoning methods in one deck and actually has a focus on it, like the Cyber Dragons that I mentioned. But on that, that's it for this, and see you all next time.